Hey, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate you guys taking the time out to give us a listen. What we have here, we feel to be a pretty unique and dynamic view of the restaurant industry, in that we all have vastly different experience sets and viewpoints and really diverse backgrounds, the three of us included. And so, we want to give our viewpoints of what's happening in food service. And even though we all have the same haircut, we all have very different opinions, if I had to guess, and we'll soon find out. So without further ado, let's start over there.
My name is Brian Seitz. I'm an entrepreneur and an attorney.
Dave Ross. What am I? I'm a distribution executive. I like that.
I like that. Wow.
I've basically in sales and overseeing sales and purchasing for a distributor.
Nice. And my name's Anthony Hamilton, and I'm a cook.
A cook?
A cook. I cook for a living.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Nice. Is that okay?
What's that?
Is that like a term, like you're good with that?
I prefer it.
Is that a humble brag, or what is it?
That's exactly what it is.
I call you chef.
Yeah.
That's not-
And that's fine. No. It's fine too. I just don't like calling myself that.
Really?
Yeah, it's just kind of kitschy. Like, I cook for a living. That's what I do.
Yeah, I don't like saying I'm a lawyer.
Yeah.
Like, I just that. Well,
Then
first
why
of all,
do you put Esquire after your name then?
I don't. You don't.
I'm just messing with you.
Other people do
Yeah.
when they send me stuff, but like, I also think chef has a better reputation than an attorney.
Yeah, the way I find it is if you yeah, that's fair.
To the common folk.
Yeah, they're actually
To
kind
everyone that's ever lived.
I don't know though. They're kind of similar in some regards, right? Like,
No, I think both professions are great, but I think public opinion has a different view of something.
fair. For me, it's all about expectations. If I come through and say I'm a cook, you don't expect very much from me, right? Like, so it's
Setting
easy
the
to
bar
shatter.
low and-
Yeah, 100%. It's a whole pessimistic approach that I like.
I love that approach.
It's
That's-
good,
I've
yeah.
built my whole life on that
Well, it
approach.
makes it easy to shatter expectations when you set them low, right? I mean, you only have one chance to make a first impression. You might as well make it lousy at first. That way you can come over the top, shocking people.
That's one way of doing it.
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, and chefs definitely become more of a, with all the, I mean, it's blown up as far as like to be a chef or to be a foodie or to be, you know what I mean? So like for you, as accomplished as you are to say, yeah, I'm a cook, you know what I mean? It was interesting to me.
Yeah, that's fair.
Where you went.
Yeah.
That's where you went.
Yeah.
And it's especially in the industry, like a chef is part of the brand. I mean, that's especially when we talk about
Usually front and center.
yeah, absolutely, like local independence, and that chef is typically the entrepreneur who is the driving force behind the operation.
Yeah. I don't disagree, especially on the front end anyway.
Yeah.
On the back end, as far as like making money and things, which we'll talk about later, maybe not the case, but hopefully we can get them there. But as far as brand recognition and being that rock star, that front man or front girl, absolutely, 100%.
So what do you think we're trying to accomplish here, Anthony? Like in your viewpoint, like what are people going to get out of this? We're talking, but
Yeah, listen, I mean, this industry is like infinitely curious, right? Like we've all delved in this industry. We all center our lives around it, mine with food first, but everything else. I mean, how many people are wrapped up in this industry? How many TV shows? How much is about this industry? And so when I look at this, oh my God, there's so much to talk about. But then further, from a consultation standpoint, like how much of the conversation, how many people we can bring in that could actually help operators while they're listening to this, maybe on their way to work or something of that nature. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, is like, can we help? And I think you'll find that in the DNA of our company, as you guys know, it's all about help first and reciprocate, benefit later. Like you put yourself last and things work out really well. And I think this is indicative of that. That question.
I agree. I still think that the restaurant owner, chef, are the ultimate entrepreneurs. I mean, and again, when we help a restaurant make an extra, $10,000 a year, $20,000 a year, whether it's with their food cost or with marketing or something along those lines, that's someone's, like you said earlier, that's their dance lessons, that's college education, that's real money, and it's not, it's not going to, Wall Street, or it's going to, corporate chain with 15 different regional managers. It's going to pay property tax in the local community and maybe hire another chef or hire another line cook. So
Well, and that's what I look at too, is quality of life, right? So like, and I've been an operator. I was an operator or in operations for 20 years, an operator the mature part of my career, but the first part I was cutting my teeth. You get in the trenches, you lose vision of what's out there. So for someone who's like us, who's out of the industry and looking at the viewpoint we're at now, we're kind of like the general on top of the hill, and you're kind of directing traffic down there. And when you're a foot soldier on the ground, you can't see the whole battlefield. So you don't know what's going on. You only know what's directly in front of you. What person am I going to defend myself against or take out now? That's all you're focused with. And I think the operations part, especially in the independent world, when you don't have that corporate infrastructure and layers of executives, you're the owner, you're the chef, you know, whatever else, how many hats you can wear, but you're down in the trenches, so your blinders are up, you know? Sometimes it takes someone else looking at your situation, that objective perspective, to give you that aha moment, right? And maybe it's like you said, if you trim this and save yourself 20 grand, well, you can hire another manager and take 2 days off a week and actually get a vacation with your family. How profound is that, you know? And that's
No,
ultimately
it's-
what I hope to do in any of my consultation.
It's life changing. It goes
Yeah.
to working, on the business versus in the business a lot of times, and
It's a great way to put it, by the way.
at certain points in the evolution of any restaurant or the development of a business, you have to, you're chief cook and bottle washer. You have to do a little bit of everything. So to be able to step back and work on the business, but still, even when you do that, are you going to have the expertise for legal? Are you going to have the expertise for SEO or websites or different marketing tools that may be effective? So like that's one thing, that the value add I hope this show brings to entrepreneurs and people who love restaurants and want to see local restaurants be successful, because at the end of the day, you're fighting against these big corporate chains that not only do they have someone doing the website, they have a huge marketing department and an ad agency, and they're doing A/B testing, which you may not have the time or resources to do. And we want to bring an awesome restaurant experience to customers, and also make sure that owner is profitable.
I probably should say something.
Yeah, go ahead. Say whatever you want.
Besides messing up your mic.
Oh, you're fine.
No, I agree with all that. I'm thinking through like, what I can add. I mean, you guys are putting it, perfectly as far as what, the independent operator, they have this amazing advantage I don't think they're aware of. You know what I mean? Sometimes that, the speed that they can do things, the nimbleness.
Yeah. Oh, that flexibility and nimbleness.
Flexibility.
Yeah. No
it's-
bureaucaucy, turn on a dime. It's
Yeah, are you
huge.
kidding me? Like you want to affect $10,000, make a menu change or make some price changes or buy differently or whatever it is. Like you can do that without a committee or a board or a executive approval. Like you can do it. You know what I mean? And if you screw it up, you could flip it back very quickly. So I think that is one of the things that when you talk about what an independent operator has an advantage over like a national chain. I mean, I feel like that's number one, that there's the speed and nimbleness and ability to pivot, I mean, maybe not above and beyond the passion or having ownership and not being, a general manager or regional manager and clocking in, clocking out. Like you've got some, blood, sweat, and tears into the process, but
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. And there's a lot of advantages. But to your point, Brian, I mean, when you're kind of pushed around by these chains because of their marketing prowess, because of their financial prowess in general, it's easy to get intimidated. And I heard someone say it the other day. It was the funniest thing. It was like, this person has the lowest prices and they're still apologizing about their prices because they're so insecure because of the curb appeal and the digital footprint that these large corporations can afford because of their infrastructure makes the independent operator feel kind of less than, right? And I think it's the opposite. Like they should be celebrating because, just as you had your top point with their advantages, for me, I think really the uniqueness of the independent operator. And I always think about this divey Thai restaurant I go to, and it's like, how are they still in business? Like, I don't want to go in a bathroom. I barely trust the food that they put out, but I love the people. And of course, I love the food, obviously, first and foremost. But that uniqueness it's almost laughable that they violate so many general rules that we have. Yet I still patronize them all the time, and they're jamming busy. And I love that. It's so unique and so many idiosyncrasies and nuances under that roof that are outstanding. And you don't get that from the chains. And the chains are the chains. They have a very important role in our economy, don't get me wrong, but it's just cookie cutter, cookie cutter, cookie cutter. For me, it's so much more about experience, and I find that in the independents. That's definitely my number one, is individualization for sure.
That's one thing I'm excited about. Is to your point, David, is the nimbleness and the ability for a independent restaurant to pivot. Like, I hope that we're giving good enough information and quality action items where someone can take it home, listen to our podcast on the weekend, and implement it on Tuesday at the restaurant, and really finds some nuggets of gold that if they do these things, that they can drop money to the bottom line.
Yeah, no question. And I think, to your point, Anthony, you talked about, sometimes they feel like they're at a disadvantage or that they, don't have the prowess of the national chain. But I look at that like I would love somebody to come out of this, listen to this discussion and really have some courage and have some enthusiasm to say, I can do this, because, there's millions of dollars being spent on marketing, millions of dollars being spent on menus and research and development of these national chains. They've got the infrastructure, they've got the people, they've got the knowledge, but it's all there. It's not like it's behind a curtain, somewhere, like it's there. You can look at the menu. You can actually take the product home and weigh it, and see the portions. You can see what they charge for it. You can see, you know what I mean? So, all those things, like the playbook's right there. And I think, for an independent operator to feel like they, discouraged by that, I think they should actually be encouraged by that, and so if somebody can come out of that, like listening to something like this and say, you know what, like I just need to take action sometimes, what I mean? The information's all there,
No, I totally agree. Whether it's site selection or it's food costing or what, there's all these kind of moves that you can make as an independent operator that you're at a disadvantage if you don't put some conscious effort and thought into in making those moves.
Yeah, if I only knew what Applebee's was charging for applesauce.
Yeah.
Like, no, you do. It's right there. Like, it's,
firm believer in letting someone else do the work for you.
Yeah.
And that's the way I look at it is not that you don't have the resources. Like they maybe have the monetary resources up front, but they give you the resources on the back end, just like you said, with a little digging. And thank goodness for Google. What a revolutionary product that is. I know it started with web crawler. That was still revolutionary, but I mean, tidbit of information is out there, whatever you want to know. And you could probably go home and weigh the portions, but I bet if you Google how much is in so-and-so's fettuccine Alfredo, it's probably
already done it.
that's it, right? So at your fingertips, sometimes you got to think out of the box a little bit to find the answers you're looking for. But again, like we tend to want to run through the brick wall first. Sit back and think about the brick wall a little bit. You might find an easy way around.
Well, and again, going back to, Brian's point about, are you working in it or on it? You know what I mean? So when you're in it, it's tough. Like you only know what you know. So you're in the grind, you're in the weeds, you're
in the trenches,
down in the trenches, you're doing your thing. And, unless you pick your head up and go, what am I doing? You know, like it's a tough, so it's not an easy, I don't think there's an easy solution, but hopefully, if we can inspire some people to pick that head up and look, that'd be great.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. No, I love it.
Yeah. Right. And one last thing too is when we talked about things we love about independence, like, the independents are more like a family oriented thing. I don't know if you guys have had any experience with that or seen it at places you patronize. It's, you have work chums no matter where you go. You got pals and you got friends, and maybe you go to the bars or party with them afterwards or spend time with them, whatever the case may be. But at the independents, like you're part of the family all of a sudden. And I know we talk a lot about family owned and operated, and we talk about that kind of intrinsic value of universal love amongst our crew and each other. And you find that more in independence. And again, I think it's exhilarating for me to be able to have that kind of passion and enjoyment out of work is tremendous. I'm not saying it's 100% enjoyable. Like there's a lot of high pressure situations, but to be able to extract that out of it and take it home as an equity is pretty amazing. Knowing that people have your back, it's good stuff.
No, and I think my best experience in restaurants are where the owner is the operator and he's there, and like, it's nice to walk into a place and the owner knows you. You know what I mean? Like that's a, I mean,
It feels good.
It does. You know what I mean? So,
As a customer, it's not so bad either. When you get to say, I know the owner,
Oh, absolutely. No,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying.
Oh,
Like,
I
as
thought
a
you were talking as an
restaurant-
employee.
No, I'm saying as a restaurant customer. Like, well, and I guess you know what? Both perspectives.
Yeah, I never
employee-
thought, but you're
employee as well,
absolutely
yeah.
right. Yeah, as an employee, it's like that would be the, if someone has 100 restaurants, they're probably not going to know, the server's name. I mean,
It'd be remarkable if they did.
Yeah.
Remarkable. Yeah.
I love the experience when as a patron I go into a restaurant and the owner comes out and says, how's your meal, how's your dinner? I mean, like it's
It's
impressive.
next level.
No, yeah, and I think it creates your best experiences, and you want to go back there. You want to patronize that person. They live in your town. They, all those things.
And you also, I think, once you build that kind of connection with your customer base as the owner, I think it opens up the dialogue to complaints and things that you can do better. Like, the customers, if the bathroom's dirty, they're going to come to you and say, hey, your bathroom's dirty, versus blast you on social media and say,
Wait, that
They're gonna feel
happens?
comfortable.
yeah,
doing
like,
yeah.
it's like this. It
Well,
looks like a
ultimately, if
murder
they-
happened in this bathroom. Like, why is it so disgusting? Like, I mean, could you use some,
Is there a
cleaning
mop
products?
in the building?
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah, right. You know what? I love you so much. I'll grab the mop and mop it up for you.
yeah, yeah.
You know?
Like, where is the mop? I'd like to help.
But
you.
that's true patronization, right? They're like a true partnership. That's like really supporting the operation. I wouldn't do that at another location probably, but given that I care about the person, I care about their livelihood and their benefit from this, like I'm willing to help them, and hopefully we've established that level of trust where there could be constructive criticism back and forth that would work out well for both of us. Because ultimately, I want them to be in business. I want to keep giving them my money because I love the service they provide, and quite frankly, I feel good with my money staying in the community. I just do.
Well, and also as a patron, and as an entrepreneur myself, like that every organization isn't perfect. So like if there is something wrong with something, like whether it's the floor slippery as you come into the restaurant in the lobby, it's like that's, maybe someone didn't do something right. Like, so you don't want anyone to get hurt, so you bring that to their attention, and if you have that open dialogue, I think it's nice, but you have to foster that communication with your patrons.
Yeah. No, and it comes back to, the difference. And we talk about like an owner that's in the business. When I see successful independent operators, they're typically in their business, they're running it, they're managing it, they're there. And then there's also situations where, you get independent operators that aren't in their business, and they have maybe a manager that's running it, and maybe they're either absentee or whatever. Like that's a whole different animal, you know what I mean? Because, that person in my mind potentially isn't as successful or isn't as, everybody's got their own, thoughts on, how much money you should make in a restaurant. But but when the guy's there and he's running it, or the husband and wife are there, there's some great customers I've had over the years, restaurant owners that the best operations are the ones where they're there. You know what I mean? Like they're not allowing someone else to run their business. They're running it.
Well, and that's something we can do a whole episode about, I think, too, is how do you incentivize a manager to treat that restaurant like it's his own business? And, there's, whether it's stock options or there's equity interest in that location, at every turn, whether it's, the chef or the manager or the server, like you want them to take pride in your location and feel, like Anthony said earlier, like it's a family. Because it is, like you want them to turn the lights off at the end of the shift, and like those sorts of things, and like turn off the TVs and not waste money. So like I think providing that environment where it is a family and they realize that we're all doing this together, and we're trying to make money.
Yeah, and I always think of like what Gary Vaynerchuk says about like, well, the owner's all frustrated, like why don't my employees like think of my business like I do?
Yeah.
Well, no shit, like.
Yeah,
they're not the owners. They're not, like, there's a reason for that. They're employees. So that you shouldn't, have that thought on your employees. You know what I mean? Like, but you need to run it like an owner.
Yeah, no, I totally.
It's funny.
agree.
So one of my mentors, when I was coming up and I first got promoted into sous chefism or whatever you want to call it, it's like my jump into management from line cook to sous chef. And he said, look, if you want more money, he's like, you got to pretend this is your money with the realization it's not. So then every time I was doing it, it was really profound because it stuck with me, even sticks with me now. This is 20 some years ago. Every order I did, every extra case of this I ordered, like, oh, I could just order an extra case of broccoli rather than getting up off my ass and going to the cooler looking for it. I took the time to get up. I didn't order from my desk anymore because I was afraid to spend the money, because I knew if I could save more money and make the company more money, that was going to reciprocate back to me. I knew that, it came down. It's like allowance, right? And so having that kind of attachment to the cash flow of the business helped out so much. It was tremendous. But I started seeing things like the owner, kind of to Gary V's point over there. Yeah.
But what do we see in local independents? The failure rate's high.
Sure.
Why is that? That is because either you take someone who's not a restaurateur and they're a doctor or a lawyer and they try to open up a restaurant and it fails in 90 days, or
right, and that goes back to the owner that they've got some money, and they're going, oh, I want to open a restaurant. Yeah, it's like that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think this is kind of taking us right into our next topic too.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. This is gonna be awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
All right.